Welcome back, my lovelies. I hope you are set for today's update. Like and subscribe, for it gives me the confidence and strength to keep writing stories for you. The first sign was not fire. It was silence. Not the ordinary quiet of dawn or the pause between shifting winds, but a heavy, deliberate stillness that pressed against skin and bone alike. Birds ceased mid-call. The palace fountains slowed, as though the water itself hesitated. Zura felt it in her chest before she understood it in her mind. Cairo, asleep in the adjacent chamber, stirred. Li Wei stepped onto the balcony at the same moment the sky shifted, not darkening, not brightening, but thinning. As though something unseen was peeling back the veil between worlds. "They are not moving openly," he said quietly. "No," Zura replied, stepping beside him. "This is something else." The air shimmered above the distant plains. A ripple, circular and controlled. Not an army. A summoning. Far beyond their borders, in the red deserts where Rashid ruled behind frost-forged walls, the seer's ritual reached its apex. Balance, once forged, can be undone. Not by blade, but by fracture. And fracture begins within. Minister Han did not sleep that night. He stood alone in the Eastern Imperial Wing, lanterns burning low as he unrolled ancient scrolls forbidden even in private study. His fingers trembled slightly, not from fear, but anticipation. He had served 3 emperors. He had watched power slip, soften, divide. And now the dragon throne shared breath with foreign flame. Unity, they called it. He called it dilution. The ritual whispered across inked parchment. A severance rune. Not of body. Of resonance. If he could disrupt the harmonic bond between Zura and Li Wei, even temporarily, the balance around the child would destabilize. Not enough to kill. Enough to divide. He pressed his palm to the ink. And blood answered. Zura woke gasping. Not from a dream. From absence. She rolled onto her side instinctively, but Li Wei was already upright. "I cannot feel you," she whispered. His eyes narrowed. "I am here. No, your fire. Your presence. It feels distant." He reached for her hand. Their fingers touched. But the familiar warmth that always flowed between them felt thin. Strained. Like a bridge under pressure. Outside, the palace braziers flickered violently, then steadied. Cairo cried out. Not in fear. In confusion. They rushed into his chamber together. The child stood in his crib, eyes glowing faintly gold and silver at once. The air around him pulsed unevenly. Li Wei reached forward. A sudden recoil surged through his arm. He hissed softly. Zura stepped closer. This time, sunfire flowed freely from her skin, calming the disturbance. Cairo's glow softened. He reached for her. But when Li Wei attempted again, the invisible barrier flared. Not rejecting him. Distorting him. "This is not natural," Zura said tightly. "No," he agreed. Somewhere far to the east, Minister Han smiled faintly. The court gathered quickly. Imperial healers examined Cairo first. Nothing physical. Nothing visible. Yet the resonance between father and son had shifted. "We suspect interference," one healer admitted carefully. Li Wei's jaw tightened. "From where?" "Not from the Order of Ash," Zura said slowly. "This feels structured. Intentional." Li Wei's gaze darkened with understanding. "The capital." Silence fell. Zura did not speak immediately, because suspicion meant fracture. And fracture meant precisely what their enemies desired. "If someone within your court has begun ritual disruption," she said evenly, "then we face more than external threat." He met her eyes. "You believe I do not see that? I believe you must choose carefully." A faint flicker of hurt passed between them. Small, but real. And somewhere unseen, the severance rune deepened its roots. Days passed. The distortion did not worsen. But it did not fade. Li Wei found himself unable to fully shift near Cairo. His dragon recoiled when approaching the child's aura. Zura felt the imbalance constantly, like a thread pulled taut. And with each passing hour, unease grew. Whispers spread quickly across both kingdoms. Is the air unstable? Is the dragon rejecting his blood? Has balance already begun to crack? Rashid's emissaries arrived under guise of diplomacy. Polite. Curious. Watching. Zura received them in full ceremonial armor, gold-etched with ancestral lions. Li Wei stood beside her. Unmoving. Unified in posture. Even if something beneath trembled. You have experienced disturbance, Rashid's envoy stated lightly. Rumors travel fast, Zura replied. Power draws attention. And predators, Li Wei added coolly. The envoy smiled thinly. Balance does not belong to desert kings. The message was clear. Leave. That night, tension finally cracked. Not into rage. Into honesty. Li Wei stood alone in the training courtyard, fists clenched, scales rising involuntarily along his forearms. Zura approached quietly. You are withdrawing, she said. I am protecting. From what? From harming what I love. Her breath caught slightly. You believe you would harm him? My dragon reacts unpredictably. That has never happened. She stepped directly before him. You are not unstable. Something is wrong with our bond. Our bond, she repeated softly. Not yours alone. His control faltered. Flames flickered along the courtyard edges. She reached up and cupped his face. The heat did not burn her. You are not alone in this, she said firmly. His eyes searched hers. What if the distortion deepens? Then we find its source. And if it cannot be undone, then we adapt. He exhaled slowly. The fire receded. Their foreheads touched. Not desperate. Steady. I refuse to let them divide us, she whispered. He nodded. Then we begin in the capital. They left within 2 days. Publicly framed as diplomatic visitation. Privately, it was investigation. Cairo remained under the protection of Zura's most trusted guard, Commander Amina, whose loyalty had never wavered. The journey east was tense. Imperial nobles watched Zura closely upon arrival. Some with respect. Some with resentment. Minister Han greeted them at the palace gates. Polite. Measured. Eyes calculating. Your Majesty, he bowed to Li Wei. Empress, he inclined toward Zura. You arrive at an interesting time. Li Wei studied him carefully. How so? Trade unrest. Minor border conflicts. And now whispers about the heir. Zura stepped forward slightly. Whispers are often planted. Han smiled faintly. Indeed. The capital pulsed differently than Kosi. Colder. Sharper. Stone towers pierced mist-heavy skies. Politics lingered in every corridor. That night, as Zura walked the eastern gardens alone, she felt it. A faint echo beneath the marble pathways. Residual energy. Not hers. Not Li Wei's. She knelt. Pressed her palm to the ground. Sunfire flared gently. The marble darkened. And beneath it, faint runic etchings glowed in response. Severance. Severance. Old ink. Fresh blood. She rose slowly. Anger did not come first. Disappointment did. When she returned to their chamber, Li Wei knew instantly from her expression. It is here, she said. In the palace. His silence was answer enough. Who? She asked quietly. He closed his eyes briefly. I do not want to believe. Belief is not protection. He nodded once. Then we confront him at dawn. But dawn did not wait for them. The ritual reached culmination before first light. Minister Han stood alone in the eastern ritual hall, palm pressed to final sigil. Balance, divided. Dragon, severed. Flame, isolated. The rune flared violently. Across the distance, in Kosi, Cairo screamed. Not in confusion. In pain. Commander Amina rushed into the nursery. The child's aura pulsed erratically, gold and silver clashing instead of harmonizing. Back in the capital, Li Wei doubled over. The severance snapped fully into place. For one breathless second, he could not feel Zura at all. The bond between them flickered. Not broken, but violently thinned. Zura staggered backward, gripping the bedpost. No. Their eyes locked across the room. Fear passed through them, not for themselves. For their son. Then fury replaced it. Li Wei straightened slowly. Dragon scales surged across his skin. This ends now. Zura's sunfire ignited fully. Together, they moved through the palace corridors like a storm given form. Guards scattered instinctively. They did not hide their power now. They did not soften it. The ritual hall doors exploded inward under combined force. Minister Han stood unmoving before the glowing sigil. You would divide the empire for a child? Li Wei demanded. I would preserve it, Han replied calmly. You mistake unity for weakness. You mistake control for stability, Zura countered sharply. Han's gaze flicked to her. You do not belong here. I belong where my family stands. The rune pulsed again. Li Wei felt it tug at his core. Han raised his hands. The dragon throne must remain pure. Zura stepped forward. Purity built on fracture rots. Sunfire erupted from her palm. Li Wei's dragon flame joined it. Not clashing. Interweaving. The combined blaze struck the severance sigil. For a moment it resisted. Then cracked. Han stumbled backward as the ritual shattered. Energy recoiled violently through the chamber. Stone cracked. Lanterns burst. And the severance rune dissolved into ash. Far across the plains, Cairo's aura stabilized instantly. Back in the ritual hall, silence fell heavy. Han knelt amid shattered marble. You endanger us all, he whispered hoarsely. No, Li Wei said quietly. You did. Guards entered. Han did not resist arrest. Because he had failed. Later, as dawn finally rose over the capital, Zura stood beside Li Wei at the highest tower. The bond between them flowed fully again. Stronger. Tempered. You chose, she said softly. I did. And I would choose you again. Her hand found his. The political fallout would be immense. Nobles would divide. Alliances would shift. Rashid would sense weakness. The Order of Ash would adjust tactics. But in that moment, unity held. And somewhere in distant deserts, ancient eyes opened wider. Because fracture had failed. So escalation would begin. Not through division. Through confrontation. The next storm would not whisper at palace walls. It would descend openly. And this time, the kingdoms would have to decide whether balance was worth bleeding for. I hope the story has captured your heart. Stick around to find out what happened next and which dangers they shall face together. Thank you for listening, like, and subscribe for more fantasy and mystical stories.